What's happening in the canine industry? For all the latest news, views, and expert opinions, stay right here for the Canine Paradigm. You'll hear from industry leaders, experts, doyens of the industry, learned colleagues, movers and shakers, and the odd randy guest. Get the latest insights and expert advice from both here and abroad from the people in the know. Now, here are your hosts, Glenn Cook and Pat Stewart. And I'm Lofty Fulton, and I'm out of here.
We haven't cut a new ad in a while, so this is a temporary Glenn-only version until Pat and I get a chance to record a proper one when we're both together and we get a hot minute. But first, to everyone who chips in on Patreon, thank you. You keep the Canine Paradigm moving, you keep it independent, and you keep our boat floating. Also want to extend a huge thank you to people in the past who have generously donated to us, people like the Sugar Mama, the Bullfed, and many other people who contributed in the past. Thank you so much, guys. Having your patronage and your support means so much to us to keep everything going. Now, have you been listening to the podcast and thinking, right, so what's next? Or where do I actually start? Pat's got online courses that are built for that. They're a complete system for motivating dogs and for coaching people. Not just scattered tips and theory, it's structured, practical, and it gives you a plan that you can run with, whether you're a trainer trying to sharpen your process or a dog owner who wants to stop guessing and start getting consistent results. You'll find them at seriousdogbusiness.com. And for the dog owners, working handlers, and sport dog people, Canine Surgicals is the other piece of the puzzle. Thousands of dogs are seeing real benefits. There are hundreds of 5-star reviews, and plenty of those reviews are from people who started out as skeptics. It's a holistic health approach for dogs across the board, from dogs already in great shape through to dogs that are generally struggling. If you want to support your dog properly from the inside out, it's at caninesurgicals.com.au. All right, that's the temporary version done. Also, just wanted to give a shout out to our friend George Kittredge, who passed away tragically. We miss you, George, and we thank you for the many years that you gave us in support as well, and you'll always be in our memory, buddy.
Welcome back to the Canine Paradigm. I'm your host, Pat Stewart, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Glenn Cook.
Happy New Year, sir, and friends.
Happy New Year to you. We did it. We're through another year. This is the first one of the first year. We're recording on the 1st of January, really, truly like brand new year.
Yeah, we actually are. We're here on New Year's Day.
Well, dorks, nothing else to do.
That's it. One of my old mentors when I was an electrician is a guy called Gary Brayley. And I think I've mentioned him at least once or twice before, but he used to say to me anytime I'd get in the car with him in the morning, he'd say, "Good morning. It's a brand new day. What could possibly go wrong?" And I used to laugh and think about that because I'm not a morning person, still not. And I'd come in the morning with a grumpy face because I'm a night owl. It's just my genetics. It's how I fire.
Yeah.
And Gary would see my face and he'd say that. He would always make me smile to think about it. So I still think about it. Every morning I open my eyes, I can hear that word because it's been conditioned in my head over like a 3-year stint as an apprentice. It's a brand new day. What could possibly go wrong?
I have the same, except mine is welcome to another glorious day in the Corps, where every meal is a banquet and every paycheck's a fortune. It's a line from Alien.
It is too. That's right.
Yeah, and a guy I knew used to say that every morning. He would get up and he'd yell it in the barracks when I lived in there. "Oh, another glorious day in the Corps. Every meal a banquet and every paycheck a fortune." And then you'd play out all the different lines from that movie all day.
What a fantastic movie that was. What's the actor's name? Bill
Paxton. He's the only actor that's been killed by an alien, a Terminator. He's been killed by everything. He was in all of the movies.
I remember seeing him in a movie, a very early, I think it was a 90s movie or an 80s movie called Weird Science with Kelly LeBrock.
Oh, yeah.
And he was the older brother in that. He played a
punk older brother, yeah.
His name was Chet. And he was just a real prick of a guy. I loved him as an actor even then because he was so convincingly just a turd of a person. And funnily enough, she even turns him into a turd because he is a turd.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
She turns him into a giant turd. The whole persona he played in the Aliens movie was just incredible. Like the way he was just such a prolific coward, except for the end. He actually regained his heroism.
Yeah.
But he was a fantastic character. He was one of the people who really made that movie. Why don't you put her in charge?
But he says to the chick in the team, do you ever get mistaken for a man? She looks at him and goes, no. Do you? It's so good. All right. Enough of the Alien podcast. Hey, we usually do the end of year circle jerk and a bit of a pep talk for the following year. You got any jerks to circle, mate? What happened for you during the year? What happened? You moved. It was a big year for you, right? Like moved to a new place. You're out of a kennel where you lived for 15 years. It was a huge year.
It was a huge year. It was an amazing year. I was just telling you when we got on air, I'm up here now. We bought a tractor and it was one of the things, I don't know, it just had in my head that I had to get a tractor.
Yeah, well, you're a farmer now.
I'm a farmer. Yeah, I'm a farmer and I need a tractor. And we got one and I love it. I remember the very initial conversation that Narelle and I had because she said, do we really need a tractor? And I said, yes. Like I'd prepared a convincing argument. It was like a courtroom.
Yeah.
I was like a barrister. And I
had your slideshow.
Oh, absolutely. I had my PowerPoint projection on the benefits of owning a tractor. So I put all that down and Narelle said, yeah, okay, well, that's a very convincing argument. After we got it, I did about probably a solid month's worth of work, something that would have taken me a month of manual time to do in a weekend. I graded roads, I pulled things down. I moved a whole bunch of old fence posts, just things that would take a long time to do on your own or even, like trying to rustle up somebody. It'd just be painful manual labor.
Yeah.
This thing just runs around and fucking does it all because it's quite a big beast of a thing and it's quite powerful. So it's got claws and all sorts of things that you can grab and pick things up and knock things over and mow paddocks. Like mowing is, instead of having everything blowing in your face and being an absolute pain in the ass. Now it's fucking amazing. You're sitting in an air-conditioned cabin listening to podcasts or music while you're cruising around in the field.
Amazing.
Just incredible.
Dog-wise, you got back on the tools way more in 2025, right? Like you're actually training a lot of dogs again and you're actually hands-on way more than you have been for the last many years.
I was training dogs all day yesterday. It was New Year's Eve and I was at Dural. Our trainer over there was off. So I spoke to Tian and she said, can you go down? I said, yeah, absolutely. I'll go down. I said, be great. So I went down, hung out with the dogs and the staff were doing a terrific job down there. I know I've said this before and it warrants saying it again, but when a lot of people are getting ready to close down, like they're having lazy days and drinkies and time in the pub and fart-assing around doing all the Christmas, all that in between, that weird Christmas to New Year's segue where life just seems like you're in a black hole and life's on pause for a bit of time. There's a lot of young people getting jumped on by dogs and moving them around and picking up dog shit and giving dogs correct medications and writing up pup dates so they can send to their owners so they're not terrified that their dog is in some poor way. I commend them all because it's a tough gig when the place is full and there's a lot of dogs and, you've got to shift a lot of things around, but they do it so well. And they do it very professionally and they act on it. Like I don't hear any grizzling or complaining about it. They just do it. They get in there and do their job. They're washing bowls, they're washing floors, they're washing ceilings, they're doing all sorts of stuff. And they're doing it because they love the animals and they want to make sure that they're also getting looked after and loved and respected while they're in the kennels. I recall somebody saying to me, we do shared boarding, and somebody was saying, I don't like shared boarding. I don't think it works. And I said, why? Where's your evidence? How do you prove this? And I said, because I've lived on site for 15 years and I've been involved in kennels to some degree for 30. Most of the places I've worked at have had shared boarding. And I said, even when I used to pick up stray Rottweilers and Shepherds to train them and sell them when I was working for Boyd, I said dogs that, males and females mostly that didn't know each other. Once I knew that they were safe with each other, I used to let them stay with each other frequently and they were great company for each other. In fact, there's dogs in the kennels all the kennels that I'm working with that are doing shared boarding. And I said, things can happen, like a fight can happen between the dogs. And I said, and sometimes they do, but the majority of the time, the dogs are actually happy to be with each other. They're good company for each other. They keep each other sane. They keep each other occupied. They keep each other company while they're adjusting to the new environments. And some of these dogs are already veterans of coming into the kennels anyway. So they're fine. So shared boarding for people who think it's a concern, there's risk. But there's also risk for single boarding, and there's also risk for having someone come to your home and look after your pets. There's always risk. There's been reported risk for every single avenue you can think of. There's some armchair experts out there that really do need to shut the fuck up because they talk about things that they don't have any first-hand evidence on, like they don't have any real conclusions about. It's just really that they don't like it. And I find a lot of sufferances that we've all endured over time and a lot of privileges that we've lost because somebody didn't like something. And then they convince somebody else that I don't like this. So therefore, the people who are doing it successfully, again, not to bring up our political side of things because we agreed that we're not a political podcast, but gun owners in Australia now, with the most strictest gun laws in the land, are being subjected to the most heinous, strictest gun laws ever because of something that nobody who's ever done anything illegal has ever done before, except for actual criminals, who was such a vast minority of things. There's going to be massive fucking punishment for people who have abided by laws and regulations and done all the right things. And a lot of the people who are voting against it are people who don't like the thought of people owning guns. They're being made to feel afraid about it, and yet they're probably their friends and neighbours or even relatives that they go around and they socialise with and they've never had a problem with and they've never known to have a problem with, and there's never been a problem with it. However, somebody had a problem with it. Interesting fun fact here, because this is the point that I wanted to make, even though we're talking about exciting stuff and things that we've done at the start of the year. The Animal Justice Party, Emma Hurst in particular, had a play in that. And it's almost like this was ready to roll off the line. She had a big issue with recreational hunting as part of the reasons for a fit and proper person to have a gun license. So Emma Hurst and the Animal Justice Party, the same people who take our training privileges away and are fighting hard to do that, were behind this as well. So if you're wondering why I'm talking about this, is because the people that we've been saying are currently eroding our rights and privileges and constantly shaving away our abilities to be able to train dogs, or even, as I'm saying before, to own a firearm and to do things like pest eradication, so forth. These people are against it, and they were a play in this actual process as well. I'm not opposed to laws being examined and people being weeded out that shouldn't be involved in owning remote trainers or firearms or whatever that is. I'm not opposed to that. I'm always opposed to people saying, well, I don't like that, so I'm going to get behind some needy politician who loves knee-jerk propaganda and will happily gang up with me to take your rights and privileges away because I don't like it. That's why I say some of these people, and I stand behind this, some of these people just need to shut the fuck up and move on. Find something better to do. I know that you're getting overweight and bored and sitting in front of your computer and life just seems to be passing you by, but trust me, you can do it. This is a brand new year. What could possibly go wrong? You can get off your ass. You can do something with your life. You can step up. You can have some other friends. You can find some hobbies and some interests. Stop sitting on your computer, getting mad, hating life, and spending too much time on social media. Get off. Turn your phone off. Go and do something fun. Get out in the sunshine. Go and do something fun. Go and do something intriguing. Find a hobby that you like as well, something that you like doing. And hopefully there's not going to be some dried up piece of shit that's going to turn around to you and say, guess what? I don't like your hobby. I want to take it away from you.
Yes. Well, let's get back to things that happened good in 2025.
Sorry, man. I had that on my head. I had that. Sorry, man. I had that on my head.
No, it's got to come out.
Yeah.
But give us your dog training highlight of 2025. What went right? What's your big thing? Give us the rundown.
I got to be honest. I didn't really enjoy 2025 as a year, but there are always little pieces that I did enjoy. I always enjoy time with people like yourself and the PSA Club, Iron Fist and so forth. Like, they're highlights of mine all the time. Spending time with good people. I always think that anytime that I'm working with or training with or even spending time, just having a moment with the people in the dog world who are, I think, some of the best people on the planet, they're highlights all the time. Like, they're memorable moments. They're times that when you're driving back from somewhere, you think, oh, wasn't that cool that I got to have a conversation with these people, or watch some skill getting worked on, or seeing a dog overcoming a problem. And trainers and handlers coming together to educate people and do all those sort of things. Watching trials and getting to be a part of the PSA journey and learning how to judge better and being able to judge the twos, that was a highlight. That was a big privilege that I won't forget. I'm going to Malaysia and I'm going to Thailand.
Oh, Malaysia and Thailand.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks, judge the trials over there. So I'm looking forward to that too. But those sort of things, they lay foundations of good memories. So things like that are terrific. Of course, getting the house and having some life changes and even watching Narelle go from strength to strength with Canine Surgicals. And there's been an amazing array of people getting behind her as well. She's now stocked in Petstock and Pet Circle, and there's some major players in the market that have now come over and said, hey, we want to be a part of this journey with you. That's only because, it's been great, mate. And it's only because not only is she amazing at what she's doing, she's getting now thousands of people who are coming back and saying, hey, this really works. I've seen transformational stages in my dog where all I was getting told before was this may not work or things aren't looking so good, where people are now coming back and saying, thank you so much for giving me hope with my dog or cat, because cats are taking it as well. There's doses for cats as well. Like I said, I can't be more proud of it. It's an Australian product. It's something that Narelle made from scratch. She's just sat down one day and put it together. I know I've talked about it previously, but I can't express to you how incredibly proud I am of her. And I love, 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 love when people I know in the industry have come back to me and said, I bit the bullet, I tried it, it worked, it was incredible, it's life-changing, like it's done some amazing things for my dog. For all the people who supported her and believed in her and tried it and came back and gave feedback and stuff like that, thank you guys so much. She appreciates it to no end, and likewise do I. It's wonderful to read the reviews. It's wonderful to see how those sort of things are changing dogs' lives. It's not a money spinner. It's not one of those things that's making us $1 million. It's still taking its time. There's still a lot of hurdles that we've got to get over and things that we've got to do. But the wonderful thing is I'm not ducking for cover. I'm not having people say, hey, this was horrible. It's fucking, it's giving my dog terrible issues or anything like that. It's all of the polar opposites. It's people going, dude, this is fucking crazy. Like, I don't know why I didn't get on it earlier. Friends, family, people in the dog industry, people in America, people I've never met before, people I've never spoken before have initiated conversations with me to say, hey, man, I just want to thank you and your wife. And I said, send it to her. She's the one that deserves the praise. I'm just a spruiker because I believe in it and I know it works. Shameless plug, of course, but nonetheless, one that I'm incredibly proud to be a very small part of. And the only part that I do is promotion. It's just promoting something that I see works, I believe in, and I'm incredibly proud to be a small part of that journey. But it's all praise goes to Narelle because she's the one that tirelessly spent time researching and putting everything together and, making sure that she had peer-reviewed science to back everything up, because that was what was most important for her, is that when somebody came after her and was trying to dispel something, she could say, well, you haven't read the science. You're just talking about something that may be emotive, but here are some facts. Like Melanie does, that just comes back and says, well, here's the evidence to support what we're talking about. Well done, Narelle.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a huge year for you guys and an astronomical growth in 2025, right? Which has so many complications and challenges and difficulties to bring out. So it's been a year of working through that stuff.
Okay, less about me, more about you. What about yourself? What are your big things?
Oh, mate, I reckon like in life, I sort of put everything into 3 different categories. We talked about that in the past. Like there's the self, like things I do for myself. There's the things I do for my family, and then there's my work, like, and I think that's who I am. I'm all 3 of those things come together. And I feel like this year I sort of achieved my goals in all of those. And that's the what I want to talk about in this episode is defining success for yourself and sort of setting yourself up to be successful. Mm-hmm. It's something that I put a lot of work into, and it's high on my mind because, I set yearly goals, not so much resolutions, but, there's a component to that. But mostly it's sort of yearly goals. And as I'm sort of figuring those out for this year, what do they look like? I also then reflect heavily on how to go last year. Did I achieve what I was working towards? If not, why not? If I did, how did I? And then sort of reviewing that and looking, well, okay, how far can I move the goalpost on the next thing or whatever? And so for 2025 in myself, I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to develop a clearer worldview. And that's a really fancy way of saying I wanted to get into conspiracies and kind of figure it out a little bit. And I think I did that, man. Like this year, all of my personal time that I had for myself and wasn't allocated to someone else was spent either reading or with headphones on listening to information about various conspiracy theories. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my time now because I feel like I should stop doing that. I should stop because I'm sort of rehashing old things. But I've developed a worldview. I've got a pretty decent sort of idea of how the world actually functions. So it's not good. It's generally not a great view, but I feel like it's fairly honest. So that was the part of the self. And the other was just sort of, in general, looking after myself, which is a constant goal. To me, I'm on I think today is maybe 106 or 7 day streak of meditating every day. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Wow.
So that's been really good. Yeah. And really found a method and a style that is doable every day, which has been really good. In terms of my family's happy. So that's the goal, right? I think that everybody's pretty happy. We're tight and everybody is getting along. And that's the goal for family stuff. Everybody's progressing. Kids are happy at school. They're learning. Life is carrying on. And then at work, things are going good. To me, it was a huge deal to launch my big, everything Pat knows course. That to me was a huge emotional barrier. We spoke about it many times. I had it ready for over 6 months before I launched it because I just couldn't. I just had this psychological barrier that I couldn't get through, partly because of it's the process of selling it. That's what I disliked a lot. And it was the problem with launching that course, and especially since I end up calling it everything Pat knows. And I have been saying for a long time and thinking of it as my life's work. To pitch that, I'm pitching myself. I'm then saying to people, hey, buy me. And then when they do, I'm like, am I not good enough? Am I not what you want? Yeah, so there's that element of going through. But the course has been really well received. It's adapting and it's changing forms. And even literally in the next few days, I'm figuring out how to get a forum going with a lower tier so that more people can afford it. I think that's been something that has been restrictive to me is yep, it's absolutely worth what I'm charging, but some people just don't have that much money. And so how do I reach out to those people and how do I, make sure that those people have access to a really high quality education in dog training? That to me felt like a pretty good year. And I think in all three of those areas, for myself, for my family, and for my work, I have goals and I define what success looks like. And so I figured that was something maybe we could talk about today because people will be, I'm sure that lots of people have New Year's resolutions, and we've talked about on the show, every New Year's we talk about the same shit. A New Year's resolution for the most part is just pissing in the wind for most people. It's just I'm going to do this. And I just had this big conversation with my son this morning about he has a New Year's goal. And so we do the whole thing, right? I got him to write it out, right? I won't go through his goal, but I got him to write down what it is. And then we teased it apart. I was like, okay, what does that word mean? Did you have to use that word? So there were 3 words in it. I was like, why those words? Try some other words. Define those words. Really understand them. And then we then go, okay, so now you've got a real understanding of what it is you want to achieve. You know the words and other ones that could have been in there. There's sections of perception. So, okay, how does perception work? Are you talking about perception of yourself or the way you're perceived by others? Let's define all of that. And it takes we spent about 3 hours on it this morning, and that it looks like a big mind map. You work through all that, and then you eventually end up with a set of actions, right? So my take on all of this is that a goal without a plan of how to achieve it is a wish. You're just throwing shit at the wall and hoping something sticks at that point, right? And you're dancing around. And if you don't achieve your goal, if you didn't actually break down any action steps, then no shit, of course you didn't achieve it. You didn't decide what step 1 was. And I think that is one of the things that has always affected me in my business, in my personal life less, but in my business for sure. And in dog training is overwhelming tasks. When you look at a task and you go, oh, this is too big, right? Where the fuck do I even start? And so breaking that task into smaller tasks and then just figuring out Like breaking it down, sitting there with the pen and paper and breaking it down until you figure out what step 1 is, and then doing step 1 until it is complete, and then doing step 2 until it is complete, and doing step 3 until it is complete, and working your way through in that way.
You're not talking about shaping and chaining, sir.
Well, so this is the thing. This is a thing that had like, it always amazes me when I look at so many dog trainers are so good with dogs, right? Like you see the way that they look at a dog and you go like, I need you to teach this complex skill. And they're like, okay, well, I have to break that into smaller component parts. I have to do the foundation work. I have to do all these things. And then you go like, I need you to send an email. They're like, oh, I can't do that. You're like, okay, but if you were to break it into its component parts, if you were to lay some foundations, like you probably could send that email to those people. You probably could build your business. You probably could be happier every day as you go to work if you broke it down into one little job and did that little job instead of looking at it as one immeasurably big job.
Over Christmas, Narelle's parents came up to stay with us. And just prior to that, because we're living on property now and we're not on town water, we've got tank water. And I ordered this U-Butte water filtration system because we had a very, very basic one before that really wasn't suitable for the house. It was a 2-stage filtration system. So it did sediment and it also did taste and texture and something else. But really, because it's tank water and some of the pathogens that can actually get in there and bacterias or some of the bacterias and amoebas and things like that can get around in tank water and live and thrive and survive in humid water that's coming off your rooftop, you got to be careful with how it's actually going through your system and then you're showering in it and then consuming it and drinking it and so forth. I've always researched in water for a long, long time, and Narelle and I have always been involved in filtration and drinking as least amount of tap water and bottled water as possible because of fluoride and chlorine and all the sort of shit that they put in water, and you can smell it, you can taste it. So we've tried to emulate what is normal, natural type of water. It's much healthier for you. It's better to bathe in. There's so many benefits for it. Long story short, went off, found this system, 3-stage filtration. It goes through coarse sediment, fine sediment, and then taste, texture, and odor. Then it goes through a UV light, which then kills 99.9% of any of those nasties that I was talking about before. So it really, really breaks it all down and gives you the finest sort of water that you can possibly have. And you can tell straight away, as soon as we put it on, fantastic. So her parents arrived, and then her brother and her niece were coming up another couple of days later. The first night her parents are here, the pump stops working in this brand new system that we've paid through the nose for and got it up here, and it had plumbers come out just before Christmas and hook it up, and it was working, it was doing fine. But then one night Narelle gets up and she wakes me up at 3:30 and says, hey, there's no water. I just went to turn the tap on and there's no water. And I thought, holy shit. I thought, fuck, what am I going to do? So I've got up 3:30. I wasn't happy to be up because I'd only slept for 3 hours, and I got up and ran around to the pump, and I'm looking at it, and the pump's blinking failure. So it's got an issue. So I've turned the power off, went through all the default setting that you would expect to do, turned the power off, turned it back on. It started up, and I'm thinking, oh, cool. It started up, water pumped out of the relief valve, and then it stopped and the light started flashing again. And there's nothing that I could do. I looked up online. I went inside. I typed out the pump and the issues, and then it said, oh, it could be this, or it could be that the pump is fucked. I was steaming at this point in time. I'd paid for this fucking thing. I had plumbers come out and do it. We had family over. It was working for 3 days before, just fine. Everything was great. Now all of a sudden we've got no water. Can't flush toilets, can't have showers, can't turn tap on to drink water. We had bottled water inside so we could drink. That was fine. But it was just a massive inconvenience when Narelle's dad was here, needs to get up and go to the toilet, all those sort of things. So on the very merits that you were talking about before, if you're wondering where I'm going with this story, I thought to myself, how the fuck am I going to get myself out of this situation? And it's the same with dog training, because when you said a lot of dog trainers can tell you how to do it with dogs, but they can't manufacture it in life for other stressful strategies. So I thought to myself, okay, the other pump that was on the system, that still worked. That worked just fine. And it's a good pump. Like it's a high-end pump still. I was going to put it in a different area and use it for animal filtration and pumping it there, but it was still up in the shed. So I thought, okay, I'm sleepy, I'm cranky, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, but I can't. I've got to get this job done. So First thing I did was turn the system off and I disconnected the old pump. So I pulled the pipes out and I looked at the inlet and the outlet that went through the system. And I thought, I'm not a plumber. I don't know much about this, but I'm not stupid either. And I've been on land before and I managed Dural and I've dealt with all the fucking drama that went on there before. And I thought, if we're going to buy property and live out here and do all that sort of stuff, we've got to be rural minded and we've got to learn how to do these sort of things. So there's inlet and an outlet. It's not hard. But what I did have to do was make a lot of changes because the pumps were different and they had inlet and outlet were in different spots. So I had to alter things and correct things and change things to get it done. But the only way I did that, mate, was just incrementally worked my way through all of the problems until I had it resolved. And as soon as I had it resolved, I turned the power on, bang, the pump came to life, water is charging through, we've got pressurized water. I saved the day. I saved Christmas.
Did it.
I did it.
What a man.
I brought world peace starting in our backyard. So the moral of the story is you can sit there and wallow in something that is driving you fucking crazy, or you can roll up your sleeves and you can work your way through it incrementally. You can look at, all right, this is what I know. This is what I know. This is what I don't know. So what I need to do is now find out. How can I find that out? Well, I've got an encyclopedia of knowledge in my pocket and in my study. So I utilized those two assets straight away. And then I found out what I needed to do, how I needed to do it, how I need to structurally resolve everything that was becoming a problem for me. It's like a lot of things that people just give up on straight away. They just fall over or they lay on the ground and just wait for somebody to come and rescue them. Rescue yourself. That's the thing that I'm trying to tell you is rescue yourself. Like you are quite amazing and you'll amaze yourself with the knowledge and the capability that you have within. You've just got to recall on it and not panic and not think somebody has to save me. A lot of times, and I guess one of my messages, one of them for the year is rescue yourself. Learn to look after yourself. Learn to be independent. And this is why I said this earlier about our governments and all the interference and the privileges and assets they will happily remove on us because we're handing over that philosophy to them. We're saying, I will give you my power if you keep me safe, if you look after me, if you do all these things for me. Rescue yourself. Do things for yourself. Learn things for yourself. Like many people that I've known over the years, somebody started a thread on the Canine Paradigm discussion group about how many people have done the NDTF course for me. Mate, I know people that couldn't rub two sticks together when they came into the course, and sitting down and talking to them, they couldn't teach a bored dog to dig a hole. But by the end of it,
I love that saying.
By the end of it, you're starting to see people who are competent. And it's not because I just went over and did it for them. And people would ask me, oh, can you do this for me? Can you show? And I said, I will show you. Of course I'll show you. I will show you and I'll show you and I'll show you. But eventually you have to do it by yourself. And I'm going to watch you do that. I'm going to stand by you. But what we are going to do, and the same way that you, Jordan Peterson, ripped through his skills and taught him assets, it's exactly the same thing that I did for the students that I was working with as well, is I said, you show it to me. I'm not going to do this for you. People that work for you, one of the worst things that you can do for people that work for you is start doing their job for them because you no longer have an asset in that person. And they might look at you and go, oh, you don't care about me. You don't want to do this. You're not invested in me. No, motherfucker. I'm trying to raise you to be an adult. I'm trying to teach you, like parents should do with their children. Rip doesn't realize, man, how lucky he is to have you as a dad, because I never had that. I never had someone sit down the way that you did and explain things in technique. Well, no, I lie. That's not accurate. I had Dawn. Dawn was incredible for me. She gave me a lot of those fields. And that's amazing. Rip is a very lucky boy, and so is Axel. And, any other good parents who are doing this for their kids, bravo. You're doing wonders for your children because this is what they really need. They need somebody to sit down with them and say, rescue yourself, be responsible, start to learn how to do this sort of thing because I won't be around forever. And I want you to know that these skills are something that you can have ownership in, and you can learn these from me, and then you can even take them and be better from here on in. That's the one wish that I think anyone who's teaching somebody anything would have for their students is to say, I want you to be better than me, man. I don't want you to stall at my capacity. I want you to be better than. No, not less than or same as. If that's as far as you go, that's as far as you go. That's no problem. It's not a failure. You still learned something, and you still took an array of knowledge away, and you still did something with it. But it's incredible when you actually get to see people learn something and incrementally put something together and realize, oh, I can do this. I've just got to breathe in between it and realize the same thing with weight loss or anything that you're trying to do or achieve or accomplish. I don't have to do it today, and I don't have to do it tomorrow either. I can do it fundamentally over a period of time, and it's not a failure if I didn't get 60 or 70% today. If I did 20%, that's still 20% more than what I would have done if I didn't do it. It's still 20%. It's still part of that incremental pathway that I try and encourage. Any good teacher does. All the good teachers I've ever listened to, you and everybody else that works with people and encourages people to learn and take something away, you're just saying, just do it to the capacity that feels right. Like while you have those beautiful little light bulb moments where something switches on inside you and you go, yes, I understand. And that's really one of those core principles that I try and encourage people to do too, is get to that point where you understand. Scale it back as much as you have to until the light bulb comes on and you say, oh, yes. Don't nod your head and don't take ownership of something that you don't truly understand just to try and save face or not be embarrassed. Ask the questions, because I'm guarantee you any good teacher that you're with will be more than delighted to scale it back to you. They won't be frustrated. They won't sit there and say, oh, this person's a dummy. They would probably say that if you just walked away nodding your head and just didn't get to a point where you didn't get the lesson. That would be more frustrating for your teachers. Whereas you said, mate, it sounds good in theory. I know what you're talking about. It makes sense to you, but it really doesn't to me. This is new information and my brain's trying to catch up. Can we chew through this a little bit? It's like that old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's the same with education. Like we want to get it back to a digestible rate where you can say, now it really does make sense to me. My neurons actually lit up when you said that, and leave it there. That's it. That's it for the day. That's the lesson of the day. And then you move on.
I feel like as a teacher, that's one of the hardest things to master, or it's something that I find myself constantly sort of working on and checking myself and reviewing, is how much help to give someone versus like letting them fail and ensuring that they fail forward. It's the classic saying, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for life, right? And so that's one of the things I find, especially in dog training, where, you get someone who's new to, say, training in general, or they're an experienced trainer, but they're, in general, an experienced trainer, but they're trying to teach a flashy precision type behavior or something like that, like it's something that's new and difficult. And there's times where, they're not holding their hand correctly or luring correctly or marking at the right time and those kind of things. And it's the decision point when you're watching someone train a dog on how long do I let you get it wrong for, and to what degree do I give you feedback? So, like I've been at events where I'm teaching and someone will be making a whole plethora of errors, but they're trying, and they're into it and they're motivated, and they'll do their little routine or their reps or whatever it is they're working on. And then I'll give them feedback on one thing. Then they're like, okay, cool. And they start working on one thing. I've seen it so many fucking times, and it's always the meanest person in the room, or not the meanest, but the most know-it-all is always like, yeah, but also these things. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to get to those things. They're going to fix those things. But if I can't give them 5 pieces of fucking feedback in one go. So I've given them one, they're going to work on that thing, and they're going to continue to suck at the other 4 things until they get good at that one thing. And that's now just on autopilot. They're, consciously competent at it. They're like, okay, I can do it. They're not necessarily unconsciously competent, but they're like, okay, I can do this. And then I'll go, and you're also fucking up this other thing, right? And then they can bring in that. And that's how I like to teach. That's really hard to do, especially like in video reviews and shit like that. That's what I'm really struggling with at the moment. But it's then knowing as well, being enough of an expert in whatever they are doing as well to then go, okay, no, let me do it, right? Because the dog is about to learn the wrong thing. Like this is about to actually be a problem. And I try to do that so infrequently, or I try to do it really only at times when it needs to be done. And the guys that I train with all the time, they all kind of know it because I'll look at them and go, do you want me to do this? And if I say that, then that's code for me saying, you're fucking this up enough that it's going to cause a problem.
Yep.
Do you want me to do this bit so that we don't get that problem? And I think that that's kind of the talent of the teacher and really being able to sit back and discern that, because I try to not take over as much as possible. And I try to do that in the rest of my life and everywhere when I'm dealing with people, is remember that it's okay for people to fail as long as they're failing forward. Like they're not failing in a way that will crush them. Or sometimes it's okay to let people be crushed by their own failures, because then they actually learn. So sometimes you got to stop defending people, stop rescuing them from the consequences of their actions. You've got to be like, hey man, this is how this is going to go. I'm going to let you do it because you're a free person. This is how it's going to go. It's your dog, but this is the actions if you continue. Take it or leave it. This is my advice. And I say that to people who are not like in my charge as well. You know, like sometimes where people will be training around me, but not be a person who has come to learn from me or is a member of like my club or training group or whatever. To those people, I'm always like, hey, I got some advice if you're interested. And they usually will then say to people while I'm explaining, I'm like, this is take it or leave it, mate. It's like choose your own adventure. This is just how I feel. This is what I think. And I'm pretty experienced at this, and this is what I think might happen. So I think that is the real skill when we're working with other people, when we're training with other people, when we're trying to pass on skills, knowledge, experience, and capability, is deciding like, how much do I help here? Like, how much do I actually take over and get involved? And I think one of the things that definitely gets overlooked or maybe not considered by many people is how quickly you can crush someone by taking away their responsibilities.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that you can really diminish someone altogether by doing their job for them. And what I have said many, many times, and this is absolutely true of people, and I totally believe it of dogs as well, is that I think that very often you play the character that you have been assigned. Now, in your own head, you have this vision of who you are. You have like a worldview of how you think of yourself. And, you have to be careful of that. That can, I know plenty of people that have a worldview of themselves which is incongruent with reality and causes them a lot of suffering because of it. But I think you have to have this idea of like who you are, but how other people think of you will affect how they feel about you, will affect how they behave around you. And so when you take the jobs off people too often, you can crush them and they will just go, well, I'm not a person who does stuff. And so you then leave a person, limp and without drive and direction. And like I definitely have observed this where people go, oh, well, they don't do anything. I'm like, because every time they do anything, you fucking shut them down and tell them they're doing it wrong. So like, that's why they don't do anything. I think there's that component to feedback and coaching is to what degree do you interfere? When do you decide like, no, I really have to take over because the outcome will be bad and maybe unrecoverable or whatever, versus when's it okay to let this fail and I'll help you pick up the pieces and we'll work through picking up the pieces together. And then you not only will eventually learn how to do it, you'll learn how to fix it when it goes wrong. That is the real tricky part.
Question for you there. Do you think it's equally as detrimental to crush them as it is to continually jump in and help all the time?
Yeah, for sure. Like there's times where, what a soundbite, sometimes you have to fucking crush people. But I think sometimes people have to fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
Like I think that eventually you have to let people go. You have to say to people, this is what I think will be the consequences of that. If you want to do it, go for it. But I'm not recovering this for you if and when it fails because I have told you. Like, and I do that in my personal life with people as well. There's many times I say to people like, oh, I don't know about that. And they'll do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's fix this together. But there's times I say to people, hey, I have been down this path. I've done this. I've made this mistake. I'm telling you, don't do that. And then if they do, then you're like, okay, well, you fucked around. Now it's time for you to find out. I'm not getting in the way. I'm not protecting you from that. So I think that there is value in that sometimes. People have to learn. And I think I don't want to jump on the complain too much about the world because I won't fucking stop because there's plenty to complain about. But I think that we have much too much protected people from the consequences of their actions.
Oh, yes.
Too many people
yes.
have fucked around and not found out. And I think that eventually they will find out, and the finding out will be devastating because they haven't incrementally found out along the way, you know? And you can apply that, like whatever you're thinking of, it's true, right? Like whatever, whether you're thinking of that in the big world and you're thinking big politics, whether you're thinking about that in the small world and you're thinking about your own family dynamics, whether you're thinking about that in like the dog world and the bullshit that we see people interacting with, like wherever, it's true at every scale. As above, so below. Like it's true at every fucking scale that we have much too much protected people from the consequences of their actions. And I think one of the things that we see a lot, you know, like people who are just fucking rude to people on the internet or lie like crazy on the internet. We see this the most from the force-free community. And this is a part of like what I want to be able to do going forward is just speak with honesty. We've bounced around back and forth and we've done so many episodes explaining this, but I think what's important is that we speak with honesty and conviction about what works in dog training and what doesn't, who's full of shit and who's selling snake oil and who's actually capable. And I think that we have, especially in the balanced dog training community, spent way too long worried about the specifics of each other's methods than to just go, no, like, you know what you're doing. I wouldn't do it exactly the same way you're doing it, but that's real dog training. Like that's actually going to work. And so we're on the same team. My team is people who can do this and do it well. That's my team. My team is not the people who do it in any particular way. Just people who can actually do it and do it well. And so when you get people, like we've seen so many, I'm happy to say a name, like Susan Garrett just making absolutely outrageous claims on the internet. And it's all just rage bait, clickbait shit. Like they just want people to comment that it's nonsense so that their own people can get in there and defend it. But I was reading the comments recently of some of the stuff that she's saying about like, what was the post about? Like if you knew how to use positive reinforcement, you wouldn't need tools. Or it was something
along those lines. Yeah.
It was just outrageous. And you know, what we see, and it's what I thought I want to be brave enough to say more frequently is say to these people like, cool, show me you doing that. Because I think you're a liar. I think that you are lying to yourself. I think you're lying to your audience. I think you're an absolute liar. I think you're scamming people out of money. And I don't think that you're doing this for the betterment of dogs. I think you're doing it for the fattening of your wallet. I think you're a scammer. And I think that we need to be able to have those conversations. That's what I think is missing in a lot of places is the truth. When people just go, hey, no, but like, show me that. Every time we say that, because we see Larry Crone commenting that constantly on her posts, and it's just mental gymnastics that they do after that. Like it's a bunch of like fancy wordplay and mental gymnastics, and it's antagonization. Like you can see that all of the lines of questioning, you know, they're open. There's never any definitive answers. There's always like, oh, you're not the boss of me. I'll do that on my own timeline. And it's like, okay, but you've made an outrageous claim. So provide some outrageous evidence. That's the sort of thing that I think we can do without.
Well said. I feel it's a narrative we've kind of supported, but maybe haven't backed up as well as we could. I'm a little bit more reactive to those things than you are. You tend to see things through a shinier lens than I do. But I'll give you another 10 years in the industry and I'll come back and review you then and see how you're going.
I don't know if I've got 10 years.
But I do agree with you, and using somebody like Larry Crone is a good example. I think Larry has been very proactive in calling people out immediately. When he sees things, he doesn't leave it for a while and just think about it. He gets on there and goes, this motherfucker went and said this, and they've got to be held accountable for their words. They can't just come around to my house, throw a rock through my window and think there's no coming back from that. Like you've got to stand and be accounted for.
I want to just expand on that really quickly and blow some smoke up Larry's ass since it is a circle jerk. And I haven't spoken to Larry much in a long time. Everyone's busy. But what I'll fucking say to Larry is that he has balls of steel.
Oh, yeah.
And see, what you see is a lot of people who will comment the way that he will and will put himself out in the comment section the way that he will, don't show any work, right? Like they argue. But he is constantly posting his work. You don't need to listen to Larry Crone to decide whether he knows what he's talking about. He fucking shows you, right?
Yeah, he's
like
good.
He gets the dogs out.
He's the real deal.
The videos are there. That's it. You can watch and decide for yourself. You don't have to listen to his stories. And what I'm impressed by him is that he does that and then also has the time. Like, I don't know where he finds the time, right? But he has the time to go to war with these people and hold them accountable in a way that very few people are able to. Even if they are able to say the same words in him and say it with the same level of conviction as him, they don't, like I put myself in this category. I don't have the body of work to show the same thing. I don't have raw, unedited, numerous dogs video showing me start to finish working with a reactive dog. I don't have that. I've never bothered to get that kind of footage. And these days I don't work with that kind of dog really, so I can't get it. So I don't have it. I don't have that body of work. Larry fucking has that in spades, right? Like there's lots of that shit. You go back through his YouTube, there's fucking thousands of videos of that shit. So like he has the proof of, no, what I do works. I want to see the proof of what you do working. Show me the proof. And he has the capacity to say that. And he says that in a way that I'm impressed by him constantly. There you go. There's some smoke up Larry's ass.
But good smoke, I think he would probably enjoy the tickle of that because it's good smoke nonetheless. To back that up, what I will say is that he does show the evidence for it, as opposed to people who give outrageous and definitive comments on things that they don't supply any anecdotal evidence to. Like you said it last week, people who hold conferences with no dogs there talking about specific things, and yet they're using toys instead of dogs. Now, you go back and they said, yeah, but we don't want to have dog fights breaking out all over the place. But if people are coming to learn about things like this, we shouldn't be dumbing down things. And it's not a conference where we want to see dogs fighting each other. It's where we want to see a dog with a problem and how do we bring it down? How do we make that dog transformative? There's been multiple conferences I've done on dog aggression where the dogs are coming in and people are saying, oh, I thought the dog was going to do this. And I said, no, that's not what we want the dog to do. This is part of the dog's modus operandi to do these behaviors. What I want to do is show how I can help you calm this dog down. And some of the tools, we will still have the safe dog or the dog in white or whatever you want to call it. You know, we have a safe dog in the environment where the dog is at such a distance where the dog will trigger on the dog and it will respond to it, because what we're doing is we're only breaching the circumference of awareness. We're not breaching the circumference of reactivity. We're letting the dog know the other dog is there, and we're getting the dog to not be in a mindset where it's then incapable of coming back from that. We're getting the dog in a mindset where the dog is thinking, yeah, I can see that other dog there. I'm intrigued by it, but also you still have the capability to communicate with that dog. There might be various different techniques. So sometimes in those sort of situations, myself and other good trainers who have done these sort of things have used elements of negative reinforcement before. We've given the dog small amounts of pressure, nothing to load the dog up, just small amounts of pressure for the dog to say, hey, switch off that, mate, and come back to me. And you can turn this off. This is a concept and a topic that we've talked about over many, many years of you and me going backwards and forwards, inviting guests on our show. It's nothing new. It's not magic. It's not rocket science, but it is no less a skill. And it's a very refined skill for people to be able to manage and curtail into their repertoire of what they're trying to do when they're showing how to take a dog who does have problems, like people who can take humans who do have problems and show them a work through. So they can actually teach them there's a better way, a greater way for you to live your life. Like you don't understand how this hamstrings you to behave like this, but I can show you a path. And it's not going to happen today.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when we're talking before about fail points where people get so upset about things where they don't happen immediately, we can teach the dog the same sort of thing over an incremental period of time that the student, once again, is able to keep up with and maintain sensibility of what's going on. Mate, can you see where the problem is coming from? Good. Can you see how to switch it off? Good. Can you see how to make your life better? Great. Fantastic. Okay, now we're on a good path. This is a path that's going to lead you to some amazing opportunities. Doors that haven't been open to you before are now open. Can you see how that's making your life better? You know, it's the same thing with psychology. It's only until you're in a position to be aware of that lights start coming on in your head, neurons start firing, like you start developing newer clusters where your brain is starting to say, oh my God, I don't have to feel this way. I don't have to have, you know, like I don't have to be angry. I don't have to be sad. I don't have to be miserable. I don't have to miss out on these things. I now have keys and pathways to opportunities, and all I needed was a guide, a mentor, a teacher, whatever you want to call that person, doesn't matter. I just needed somebody to actually help me clear the path a little bit and hold my hand while I'm doing this, not do all the work for me. Because, mate, I'm speaking from experience here. You know, let's talk about things like anger management. It's like the Adam Sandler movie, Anger Management. He didn't even know he had a problem. He was not aware of it. He did not think he had a problem, even though it's a comedy and it was quite funny and it's a movie that I've watched regularly and had some good laughs to. The line in that is some people don't know they have an anger issue and they don't know where it came from. They need somebody to walk them through the path and say, your issue came from this. This is the thing where you had intimacy issues or where your anger came from.
Here is your unmet need.
Here is your unmet need. Very nicely said. And it's incredibly empowering for somebody to come to that point. And it is your come to Jesus moment when you have it, because you go, holy shit, I actually didn't know this little seed that someone planted or was planted in my garden of life all this time ago has really held me back and prevented me from having an incredible life. I've had some opportunities, but for some reason, this has closed doors to me. But as soon as I've worked on this and maintained that, like an aggressive dog and an aggressive person, now that I've worked on this and I've got this in check, those doors are back open to me. These opportunities have sprung forth once again. It's incredible.
I think in particular on the, like aggressive dog seminars without any dogs present, I find that especially egregious because you and I both taught aggressive dog seminars and events, right?
Yep.
Of course, it's not like I'm not advocating for, nor am I saying is a good idea to do dog daddy style events where we're helicoptering dogs.
No.
Or the stupid style ones that we've seen that Hat do plenty of times where we've just got a bunch of reactive dogs that just get fried on an e-collar and shut down in the presence of each other. And everybody leaves thinking that they've got their aggression problem fixed when actually their dog just had its fucking seeking system turned off with the electrics, right?
Isn't that funny?
Not advocating that shit.
Isn't that funny that we've got all these codes for people, the hat, the ponytail, and the Gucci.
The hat, the ponytail, the dog daddy. At least dog daddy would say,
What was his nickname before? Like the Prada tracksuit or something like that? The tracksuit?
Whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I've put on my tracksuit and start helicoptering. But we've taught these, and mate, so how often at an aggressive dog workshop, if there's 10 working spots, you would be lucky to get 2 actually aggressive dogs. The rest of them are just reactive, right? Because a dog that actually enters the space, you would be lucky to get 2 out of 10 that come in and look and go, I'm going to fuck someone up in here because I want to. It's going to be awesome, right? Or a dog that comes in so panicked that it's like, I have to damage someone, right? Those are rare. What you get is a dog that is being handled poorly, is being communicated with poorly, and a handler that without knowing it is causing the aggression problems. That is at least 8 of the 10 working spots at every aggressive dog event I've ever been at, spoken at, worked at. What you then need to do is tell that person how to handle their dog better. The overwhelmingly, and like, mate, I've seen you do it. I've done it, is where somebody comes in and their dog is just being like mismanaged. They think they've got an aggressive dog. And so they're like, all the tension in their body, they got constant pressure on the line. They're looking at what they think could be a trigger of the dog, pointing a ton of their intention at it. And so of course the dog's going to bark and fucking carry on like an asshole at those things. And then you or I or one of the thousands of people that can do this in their fucking sleep, because it's not hard, take the dog, you communicate effectively down the leash, like use pressure and release in a way that the dog is hardwired to understand. Like Mother Nature taught the dog how to understand that shit. All you have to do then is like manipulate and actually do it. You don't freak out because you're like, oh, you're not really an aggressive dog. And even if you come up at the line at me, I could just hold my arm out and hold you off because you're a fucking cavoodle, right? Like it's not like you're a fucking 50 kilo. Like my bully, right? 60 kilos of straight up muscle. If he comes up at the line, you've got a problem for sure. That's an issue.
Yeah.
But overwhelmingly, most dogs that we're seeing like aggression issues from are little bitses that couldn't bite you if their life depended on it, if you knew how to handle a dog even remotely well, right? But that includes handling real dogs. For sure, using like I've got, we don't have a stuffed dog. I've got a stuffed elephant in here that we use all the time, right? We got the elephant because he's got these rigid legs and he's quite heavy. So he actually performs the role of the dog really well. And we practice with that dog all the time. Like, I am absolutely not saying, or that elephant, I'm absolutely not saying that there's no utility in doing that. But you then have to get the real dogs out, right? You have to do real dog handling. And overwhelmingly at the aggressive dog events, I'm doing my inverted commas, you just get dogs that are confused and afraid of not knowing what the fuck is going on and have found success in acting out in the past. And so will act out again. And it is absolutely not hard to, within a few minutes, take away the success that they were finding because they can't manipulate you because you're experienced at doing this. And then you can communicate with them, hey, this is what I do want you to do. You can communicate to them, hey, don't do that in the moment. And then you hand the whole thing over to the handler and go, now do like this. And we so often are able to see like catastrophic changes. And again, I'll say Jay Jack's name this time instead of Larry Crone. The amount of times that you see Jay turn up with actual killers, like people with real fucking dogs that actually want a fucking blue, to the kind of event where I would usually then be like, okay, like this is a long-term project. We got to work on this one. And you see Jay 10 minutes later is smooching that dog in the face because he actually does the work, right? Like handles the dog, does the things, and he's an expert in that shit and is able to, via play, manipulate how to get the dog into it. And if you hearing about doing that is nay the same as watching it happen to your own very dog and then getting to have a turn of it and be critiqued live, and you get it wrong and he give you feedback, and he, exactly as we said, he lets you fail a couple of times. He gives you the points that are like the one thing you can work on in this session. You get feedback, you go again the next session. Whereas like sitting in front of the overhead projector and hearing a bunch of bullshit and then leaving that and thinking that you're going to try and implement that shit on your own dog. If you weren't good at handling dogs in the past, the theory overhead projector presentation isn't going to help. You need actual to handle dogs, but you need to see people handling dogs and need to see that first world feedback and get the actual understanding of what's happening with the leash. And I think that's one of the things that like it shits me when we're put in this position of having to justify essentially like reality. That's what I am fed up with, or not fed up with. That's not the right word. That's what I'm like, I'm sick of. And I plan to do more of it because I think that my own laziness, my own cowardice, that I just haven't wanted to engage with a lot of people because I look at it and go, oh, fuck, I don't want to be involved in that. And I step away from it. Is that we're allowing people to develop a false narrative of what reality is around dog training and then let those fuckers impose that reality upon us. That's not reality. So like the idea that you can fix all these aggression issues and train a dog without using any tools or compulsion and all that, that's just nonsense. Like there's tons of work that can be done without those things, but that dog training will continue to be highly effective and will meet good standards without those things. That's not true. That is false. And the people who are perpetuating that it can be done, they don't live in reality. They're either lying, like knowing lies, which there's many of, right? Like the amount of, and maybe this year I'm going to start saying their fucking names. The people who have like, straight lied to us and our audience. And then we find out, or they tell us later that, oh no, I use an electric collar to teach that. There's no other way. I'm like, oh, but you're pushing for bans. That kind of dumb shit is what I feel like all of us need to take a leaf out of the Larry Crone book and be like, no, that's false. You're lying. That's false. If you think that it is true, show me the evidence. Show it to me. And then I'll change my mind. And that's what I think is important for all of us as trainers is, and certainly as balanced trainers, is we're after balance, right? Like, show me a better way to do this and I'll do it better. 100%. Like, as I say, there's constantly people. I just joined one yesterday, joined some like dog training paid forum thing. And the guy who has it messaged me and is like, what the fuck are you entering my forum for? I was like, because I'm curious, right? Like maybe there's better ways. I'm a perpetual student. I don't know all this shit. I'm constantly learning it, right? So if there's a better way, show it to me. If what you're saying will work, show me the fucking videos and I'll change. But I need to see that it works because I'm not going to make my dogs worse. I'm not going to continue to, I'm not going to begin lying to clients because of your bullshit narrative. I fucking live in the real world where dogs bite people and fuck them up. And I want to prevent that, right? Like, or make that happen if in certain cases, because that's my job also.
Using the word narrative, that's something that we have expelled on many occasions, is that you want to make sure that you're going to a professional who's continuing training, who's continuing to learn. And that's something that if I'm going to a doctor, I hope my doctor is learning about new ways to administer drugs. Like if there's a better way, if the world has moved on, I want to know that my doctor or my GP is doing those sort of things. If I'm looking to invest money and I've got a business coach or an accountant, I want to know that this person is learning what loopholes I can legally exploit, how I can prevent the government from taking too much money out of my salary from week to week, because, I'm with a switched on person who currently and is continually educating themselves on a new process. Furthermore, to what you were saying before, mate, we do have to stand up to a lot more of this tyranny that's going on because it's bleeding into everyday life. And I will say it again, there's a lot of people who have a rational fear of people with firearms, but there's people out there who are farmers who use them as tools, the same way as dog trainers need tools to train dogs. And there's people out there who are just saying, no, you can't have them because I don't like them. I don't feel comfortable with this. It doesn't suit my eastern suburbs narrative. I live in a neighborhood where we go for cafe lattes and we walk along Double Bay Beach and sip margaritas on a yacht together. This doesn't make any sense to me. That's because you're not fucking rural. That's because you haven't got wild pigs running through your property and foxes that are killing your chickens and your lambs and all those sort of things. Or that's because you're not an Olympian shooter that's going out and you've dedicated your life to target shooting, or because you're an interested sporting trap shooter and you're going out and shooting clay targets on the weekend with your friends and your family, your wife and your kids, and you're doing all that. This is part of your lifestyle. This is something that I think we've got to support each other more readily and look into these narratives that the governments are putting forward and just taking things away from us, because we've got these oppositions who are flooding our fucking life and just saying, I don't like that, mate. And I know I started this off. I think we need to be aware of it into this new year of, is this person just saying no because they have a dislike for it? What's the genuine reason? Like if you've got somebody like Melanie Uda who's throwing her, like her professional and her private life on the line and saying, here's the science. Like you guys are coming up with a very moderated and cherry-picked argument, but I'm actually going to pull the whole argument apart for you, and we're going to put it down track by track. And then you come back and say, yeah, but I still don't like it.
It's because of the comfort that's provided by the false narratives. I've been thinking about this a lot, mate, because there's one person in particular who I've seen commenting a lot on Melanie's stuff and recently said some heinous shit to someone in our group, and so I fucked him off. I was motivated, so I did a bit of investigating. And so what I think it is that, life is fucking hard, man. Like there's and there's plenty of people doing it tough. And I think that what we have seen, and this is on many scales in many places, as I said, law of correspondence applies, as above, so below. Apply this to dog training, real life, anything you want. It's happening everywhere. But life is hard. What I've only recently come to fully understand, and maybe I don't fully understand it yet, but I'm trying, is that the version of you that exists in your head is completely different to the version of you that exists in my head, right? So like the multiverse is real. Everybody that knows you knows a different version of you. They've developed a different story about who you are in your head. And in some people's story, there's a lot of detail, and some others there's not a lot, right? And it's very variable. But some people have really decided you are a particular thing based on what they think to be true. And that isn't necessarily true. So what is very easy to do is when somebody's having a hard time, which clearly this person who goes after Melanie all the time must be, to then sit in a false world with other people that share your false reality makes it feel like a real world, right? When a bunch of people with a false sense of reality all come together, they create this new reality that exists for them in that groupthink bubble. And it is very fucking threatening to that groupthink bubble to be confronted with reality. And what happens, the indoctrinators, never the indoctrinated, but the indoctrinators continue to create that reality, but not go out and defend it. They expect the indoctrinated to do that because the indoctrinated are the cannon fodder. So that's why this guy comments absolutely stupid shit, like absolutely dumb things, arguing against a woman with a PhD on the topics that he's fucking arguing. And because it's not the specific kind of PhD I want you to have, fuck you, and all, like total nonsense arguments, right? But you are a lamb being put to the fucking slaughter by the false god that you're worshiping, right? Because you're in this group, this person has created this false world in which you are so comfortable, right? Like, oh my God, the nonsense under which we're living here is the nonsense under which I want to live. And then the nonsense creator, the demiurge of that fucking world, says, Melanie Uda threatens our existence because she's going to bring reality to our false reality. She must be destroyed. Go out and destroy her, so that they don't ever need to do the thing. They don't ever need to do it. The indoctrinator continues to just watch the money roll in, but the indoctrinated go out and do the bidding of the indoctrinator. And that's what we're watching for sure. And so we're watching, and this is why it pisses me off so much, especially in our space, is that people call me an asshole for saying this, but no one calls me a fucking liar or wrong, is that the dog space is rife with mental health problems, right? Like there are so many of us in here that have significant
I think they know it,
health.
mate. I think people are very aware of that. And not to make light of it or poke fun at it, because there's a lot of times I've been to not only dog training ones, but I've been to dog-related ones, like even in the pet feeding or pet health space. And the audience is some, mentally compromised people.
That's
like
right.
they're people who are dealing with
compromised, and the compromised and vulnerable are the easiest to prey on.
Yes.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yes.
And that's why,
Yes.
that's one of the reasons why it pisses me off so fucking much is that you see these people who are absolutely full of shit. So, I was talking to someone, I won't say his name, because I would like to have him on the show. It's a guy that I'm pretty sure we've had him on the show in the past, and I've definitely been on his show. He was a no tools guy until he started actually doing real dog training, and now is like, oh fuck, right? Like that's nonsense. That kind of training doesn't work, and is now
Like
training
the
the way
mutton.
that real dog trainers train, right? Exactly. But he is still in the clique with all the fake trainers, and now is seeing, because he's a real trainer now, he can see, oh, but that kind of thing can only be taught with an e-collar. Right? Like this is one of the things that we see is like people go, oh no, I'll fix this stock problem or whatever it'll be. I'll use it with differential reinforcement. And we go, yeah, like sometimes that works. Go ahead, try it. And then they go, look, it works. And you go, I'll tell you one thing fucking reinforcement never does, motherfucker, is cause an aversion, which your dog suddenly has. So you can, with reinforcement, the dog really want to do something else for sure. But you can't make it afraid of doing that other thing with positive reinforcement. That doesn't fucking happen, right? Yeah. And now I can tell your dog won't look at the stock. Your dog is not only like very actively doing the thing that you're saying you taught with positive reinforcement. Yeah, for sure, you taught that. Good for you. But your dog won't fucking look at the stock. Your dog is actually like avoiding making eye contact at the fucking stock. Kind of like my Springer Spaniel does with cats, because she had the shit kicked out of her by a cat when she was an 8-week-old puppy. And for the rest of her life, it pretends cats don't exist, right? So like you cannot put that kind of avoidance without aversion. And real dog trainers see that. And you see these people who lie all the time to their audience. Their audience don't know because they've never used these tools. And so like you or I look at it, and you go, oh, yeah, you did a good job with the tool, actually. Like, you've done it. Like, for sure, you're actually pretty handy with an e-collar. You should stop denying that you use that and start teaching people how to do it instead of fucking denying that you're using it. And actually, in many cases, promoting the ban of the very tool that you're using yourself. And this is the last thing I'll say on it because it gets me too riled up. And we had a whole topic which we still haven't fucking gone through, you know that? We're going to talk about what defining success looks like. We'll have to do that next time.
That's the next one,
Yeah. The thing that gets me fucking riled up is when people lie about how they train and then double down on their lies to their audience when they are not seeing the same success. I couldn't do that. I don't know how, like, I don't know how people sit with that, because I think for the most part, the people who we see in the dog space, like everybody's into training dogs, you know, even the liar, bullshit, lunatic, force-free people, they often are that way because they, to a degree, feel that using aversive tools is unfair or whatever to the dogs, but then lying constantly to your audience in order to perpetuate bad dog training. Like it's so incongruent. I don't know how a person could be compromised to that degree, except by, you know, power and money. Like I think that's it, you know? And I think that one of the weirdest things that we face in the dog space, and it's something that it happens around the world. It happens in every regard. And we could talk about it again at any level, but it's people who are trying to give themselves masters, like put other people in control of them when they're like, oh, well, I need this governing organization to tell me what's what, or I need my coach or mentor to tell me that's okay. Like, make that decision yourself. Stop trying to hide in what you think is comfort and safety in the shadow of another and fucking step into the light. That's all I got to say about it.
That falls into line of what we was talking about earlier is rescue yourself, do the work, learn how to do it. Even some of the prejudice that you have, which are very uncomfortable, and I know this from experience, things that have made me uncomfortable, people that have made me uncomfortable, and yet I've held audience with them or with the program and found, okay, I did learn something from that. It wasn't total horseshit, or it was total horseshit. I was right. It was exactly what I thought it to be, but at least I went along and had a look. I wasn't sitting there and sitting in an armchair just reading off a script that I've seen on the internet. I think that's one of the dangers that we all face. Mate, can you imagine, think about this, could you imagine a world that we would live in and what we would possibly have now if we didn't have popularity and finances holding us back from some of the magical experiences and innovations that people have invented and created and known about for many years? Can you think about what would be possible? Like when I listen to people like Joe Rogan, who invites a lot of very learned people on around the world, and they start talking about some of the things that have been withheld from the population because very corrupt people have realized, oh no, this is a gain that should serve me and mine and not for the general population. I just don't see any good of it getting into the hands of the common man or the average person. It's best benefited from a small group of people. Not only do they do that, but then they develop ridicule around that, and then they develop hypocrisy and this movement around it where you're labeled as a lunatic or such a fringe winger of a version of a crazy person, because it's not only that it's completely not true, it's just that they have crafted such a gift and even created such an army of people who are willing to die on that hill for them. Could you imagine what the world would be without those type of people in it? Even the example I use when Rogan talks about one of the very wealthy lobbyists in the United States who stopped people from using cannabis because it was competing against his paper mills. It was just a financial thing, and he developed and demonized the whole industry about it and created it as a Schedule I drug, and literally
because hemp was a better product than paper.
Hemp was a better product than paper.
Not because there was an issue with cannabis. The issue wasn't, I don't want people getting high. It was that the byproduct of this thing, that we can make better products with this than we can with at my paper mill. So I'll make up that being high from this stuff is the worst thing that can happen. The whole reefer madness, all of that came from that era.
That's what I'm saying. This is just one example. Like even the food pyramid scheme, the sugar industry paid off scientists. And this is what I say to people when people say, oh, no, this is not true, Glenn. You're talking out of your asshole. Having people pay off scientists and so forth. Well, this is evidence. There's legitimate evidence.
You know what you say to those people? Okay, boomer. That's who they are.
What's the one they say now? You sound vaccinated. That makes
Mate,
me
I'm
laugh.
vaccinated. I jumped the line. I pulled the disabled veteran card.
Yeah.
I rushed that clock shot in.
Yep, not me.
All right, we got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just going to fucking rant about the state of the important thing was I told everybody that I've come up with my conspiracy theory worldview. Maybe I'll do a Patreon-only special on how the world really works. I'll tell you about the reptilians and
Anunnaki. Yeah, go for it.
I don't know.
Mate, I love it. I love it. Before we do the official wrap up, I fucking love it that when I first talked to you about UFOs, that side glance you gave at me, you looked at me like, this fucking idiot. And now you have become so much better at UFO thesis than I have. Like you are
Matt,
well beyond where I was, and I was even impressed with my limited knowledge.
Yeah, so I'll say this is that anybody who actually has a genuine look into UFO phenomenon will very quickly find out that there is for sure shit zipping around being piloted by something we don't know who it is. At some degree, in some level, somebody knows, like for sure, there are people that know, but you and I have no idea whether they're alien, interdimensional, fucking ultra-terrestrial, as in they've been on the planet longer than, like, who knows what it could be. I've got my own theories on that shit, but the fact that is faster than light travel happening by little machines is a straight fact for anybody who has even 2 hours of genuine, open-minded investigation into it. And the idea that there isn't is ridiculous. But it's very easy to, yeah. And trust me, like, I'm aware of the fucking stupidity of what I'm saying, being a person who looked you dead in the eye and was like, Glenn, I'm fucking telling you there's nothing like that, man.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah, but I never looked into it. And I was a product of the cover up. And that's, like, we've spoken about at points in the show. Like, there was a whole concerted effort. Like, you can read the documents where they made a plan to make anybody who talks about this sound like a fucking idiot. And it's worked so well. The whole population has been duped into doing that.
Yep.
And the amount of people that I have said, like, oh, because this has been my thing for the year. It's all I've talked about, right? In my personal time and in my personal life, it's all I've talked about. And the amount of people that look at me like I've got two heads, and you're like, no, you're the dummy here. You're the one that is just eating up what you're being told, right? It's not me. I sound like the dummy because I'm telling you that UFOs and aliens and shit exist or whatever they are. But you're the dummy for not thinking that that's true because you're just eating up what you've been fucking told. They've had congressional fucking hearings on it. You have fighter pilots saying, I chased one.
Watch the age of disclosure.
What more do you fucking need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when I'm laughing about it, it's not that I'm laughing because I'm thinking I was right and you were wrong. What I was laughing about is it's not humor. It's impressed that you were willing to change your mind over it. Like you're willing.
Oh, thank you.
But that's what I'm saying. That this has been the precipice of our entire discussion. This one in particular is when you're actually willing to step outside something that you have a very strong belief in, something that you've had education on, something that you've been told by peers, this is not real.
Deeply indoctrinated into.
Correct. And this is the same with the dog training. It's the same with the firearms. It's the same with all of it. All of this. What I'm saying to people is don't just be ready to believe what people in power are telling you, because sometimes they have an agenda from squashing you down and stopping you from being educated and stopping you from knowing things because they don't want you to know these things. And there are people in the dog training industry who are doing this to you because you're going to take money away from them. They're going to realize, these people now know they don't need to come to me every week now. They don't have to keep tipping money in my coffers because they know how to do this. They know how to take care of their dog. They know how to fish now. They know actually how to catch fish. I can't sell them a fucking fish every day at the market. These people can feed themselves. And when you did that over the UFO thing, I was so fucking proud of you because that's why I love you so much, because you don't just settle on your laurels. You don't just sit back and just accept things. Like when you have a bug in your butt about something, like you go, I need to look at all the data now. Like I need to look at the left and the right side and everything around it. I need to look into 3-dimensional instead of this 2-dimensional process that I've been handed. I need to look at it up, down, side to side, every angle. And then you come away with a far better understanding and more of a reality of what's truly going on. And I wish that for people this year. I really do. I wish that for all of you. I wish you could be that empowered because it's scary and it's stressful sometimes and you will face ridicule. I went through this, and I know I talked about it in an episode. I went through this with the vaccination and everything and all the people that fucking gunned for me and the friends that I lost and some people that I still don't have a relationship with over it. But I believed I was right. And now science is coming back and saying, hey, man, you were right. Sorry, everyone else. Sorry about that. Sorry. I hope you don't get myocarditis. Sorry.
There wasn't even a sorry, mate. There wasn't a sorry. It was just,
it was literally,
the facts now.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah.
But the thing is, sometimes just doing a little digging, sometimes when you've got that itch or that feeling in your stomach, when people say to you, trust your gut, I'm saying to you sometimes, trust your gut, like believe in what you're doing. And unfortunately, there's people in retrospect of what we're talking about, they're still willing to die on those hills because they're saying, yeah, but that's my gut. That's the trust that I have. But I can tell you without a word of a lie, the people that I have held audience with and have had an opportunity to talk with them, they haven't really examined beyond that. They just hold that belief. It's like they just pressed the pause button and said, this makes sense to me. I'm willing to hold this because it really reads well. It's comfortable, exactly. And they won't go past that. Anyway, you're right. We've run out of time. We've talked, we've ranted, we've talked, we've been passionate, we've called everybody.
We said a bunch of names and fuck you. Fuck all of you. Welcome to 2026, motherfuckers. That's it for another episode of the Canine Paradigm. As always, like what you hear, like, rate, share, subscribe. Do that through whatever subscription service you download us from. Then go somewhere else and do it to another one. They don't check. We've fucking looked into that. Nobody checks. You can write reviews anywhere you want. You can write on a toilet wall if you want. If you want to support the show, best way to do that is Patreon. Few bucks a month, get your giant backlog of information as well as new stuff going forward.
Don't just gloss over that though, because that is the actual thing that keeps our show running.
That is what keeps us going. So don't Patreon, jump into there.
We have no other stream of income other than our Patreon. That's it. That's the only thing that keeps this show actual running. So don't take it for granted, the people who actually put money into our Patreon, because they are the people that bring this show to you now, because the show,
for sure.
The show is hefty. It costs us money to run, and like all the things that we've had to do to upgrade, to keep it going, to pay for their things that we need, it costs.
Your support has been invaluable to us. We appreciate you greatly. Another way to support the show is to jump on the Spring. There's links in the show notes. Get yourself some cool merch, T-shirts, giant wall tapestries, all that kind of stuff. If you want to get in touch with us, best way to do that is jump in the Facebook discussion group. There's a lot of 10,000 people in there all saying cool things about dogs. You can group source information in there, or you could shoot us an email. We are info@thecanineparadigm.com. Love you all. Goodbye. Happy 2026. Welcome to the new year. Yay.
May you have the privilege of knowing a dog like ourselves.